Hi everyone, my name is Tilly. Welcome to my YouTube channel. This is my first video, so bear with me, but I had to post this video today because I just, like all of you, I cannot take this anymore. Like, this is affecting my day-to-day life. Being glued to the news, waking up in the morning not knowing what's going to happen, it's extremely frightening. That's the word. I think it's frightening. I think so many people get on, internet, YouTube, and it's like, oh, this is problematic, this is offensive. No, I just think this is absolutely a nightmare. This is frightening. Like, this is how people feel before, bad things happen, right? Because these are natural human instincts that we have, so it's kicking in that horrible things could be happening. But I just want to talk about what happened today. And I'll give you a little bit of background on me. I am an HR executive by trade. I've worked on Wall Street for more than 20 years. I have a finance background as well, project management, as well as, a Georgetown degree. So a graduate degree. So I like to talk about first the oil prices going down, because he had tweeted that oil prices are coming down, and that may be true, and that's true because Saudi delegation was in the White House last week, and I'm sure there was an agreement with Russia where Trump asked for them to increase their oil production to 400,000 barrels per day. That increase of supply obviously is going to decrease the oil prices. So that's one aspect of it. Whether that's going to truly help the environment, the economy, I'm not sure, and I don't see how that's going to help, because the interest rates still has to come down. The Fed decided not to cut the interest rates, so therefore, investments from institutions and governments, it's going to be extremely a difficult decision for them to make, because they're obviously looking for, more of a beneficial and a healthier environment where the interest rates are low and they're able to sort of make a return on their investment. So they're waiting for that, obviously. And so Trump is trying to get there, and the Fed chairman basically said, no, we're not cutting the rates. That's alarming. The next is really looking at Trump as a person and the things that he has done in the last 30, 40 years, which is just all real estate transactions, right? Like, that's been his bread and butter, and that's where he makes his money. So the federal buildings, I believe something like 700 buildings are planning to be sold. So it would be really interesting to find out, like, what kind of a benefit he's getting out of that whole, the transactions with those real estate negotiations, and how he may be a broker and what role does he play and benefits that he gets out of that. Then, the other area that's pretty alarming also is this environment that he's trying to create for the Midwest, where businesses could come into the Midwest and open up factories. Okay, the interest rates are not low, so therefore it's very difficult for them to come back. But if the interest rates were lowered, what he's hoping for is for the businesses to come into the Midwest and make those negotiations and those real estate deals, where then he would benefit from that as well. And that's a complete, violation of ethics and as well as a conflict of interest, right? Like, that's just, you're benefiting out of shaking up the global economy and completely wiping trillions out of the markets and industries, and also that you can then go into the Midwest and broker all of those, like, commercial real estate deals and transactions because you thought they were going to open up all of these factories in the Midwest. Is that the reason why he did this? And that's something that I'm really alarmed about and very concerned about, because it seems like that's why he's doing this. this whole thing is a nightmare. This whole absolute thing is a nightmare. And I see people online, and everyone's just being so tempered, right, and reserved and not going off on him. But seriously, this is the most corrupt and most criminal act that I have ever seen. It's allowed to continue. It's allowed to take place day after day after day after day after day, where we're just shocked by some of the things that they're doing. And you realize that things are really changing. Like, this is how societies and governments change, and we're part of that, that change in a very slow process. So that really does, concern me, and it's a nightmare. It's a nightmare. It's an absolute nightmare. And I hope to be able to build a community of people here where we can talk about the frustrations, the situations that you're facing, the financial hardship that I think a lot of people may face. I know that Democrats had recently talked about, putting together a program to help women vote, because if your birth certificate has your maiden name, but then your passport has your married name, I think you're ineligible to vote. That is horrendous. I mean, that's just so intentional. It's like, it's a technicality that you can actually just with the swipe of a pen just fix. Just be like, oh, okay, if it's their maiden name, then great. But if it's, people that have changed their name 5 times, yeah, then I can understand. Or even 3 times, 4 times. Then does that ring a bell, raise an alarm? Absolutely. But if you hone in on just a natural life decisions that people make, that we all make, which is to get married and start a family, and we take on our children's last name, and that's going to prevent us from voting. So we really need to find out if the Supreme Court is going to hold that up. And that is something that I want to track and I want to follow. So please, I hope all of you subscribe, like, comment. When you get 10 minutes, please just stay focused on the areas that we really need to focus on. The Wisconsin win was great because we get to talk about, I believe, it allows for like 2 seats, I believe, in the House of Representatives. I believe that might be their voting power. I'm not sure, but, the technicality was that, we have some level of judicial strength from that voter representation. So those are some of the things that I'm really passionate about. I am someone who, stays on top of all the news every single day. I work from home. I am a small business owner. So these are all the things that really affect our life. So I really would love to be, a source of some clarity and some information. So if there's, questions that you have, more than happy to answer them. I'm sure a lot of you are very well versed in politics and the economy, and you understand how all of this works. But this looks like, he has a lot of power to do what he wants to do, because I think there are a lot of Republicans that are behind him on this, and that's where the power really is coming from. He's got GOP senators and House of Representatives that are really behind him. It's diminishing a little bit, but not by a lot. I believe only 6 Republicans is supporting the bill that Grassley just introduced to the Democrats, where they can sort of sanction and control his tariff executive orders. So like he can't make another executive order on a tariff without giving Congress 28 hours of notice. And Congress still has to approve. And if Congress doesn't approve, then the tariff cannot be implemented. So there's a lot of areas that I would love to talk about. In addition to Greenland, I'm really passionate about Greenland as well, as to why that's a strategic interest. I'm not in any favor of saying that is something it's absolutely wrong. I think people have to understand, a sovereign state land is sovereign for a reason. We can't just go grab lands, the way that we did 200, 300, 400 years ago. It just doesn't work anymore. No one's going to stand for it. But the reason he's going after this has a lot to do with the shipping market. The shipping industry is dominated by China. That's all that I have to say. It is dominated by China. The ports that we have, I believe the Japanese and the Chinese own that, and I think that's the one that BlackRock is in the process of purchasing. But I think there's some delay on that one as well, right? So Trump is really trying to dominate the oceans, but the problem is we don't dominate the shipping sector. We don't have a lot of ships. China has a lot of ships. I mean, dominant, like 80, 90% of the ships that are in the ocean are Chinese. There's like 40, 50 ports all over. It's also owned by the Chinese. So we're trying to dominate that area as well. So it's an area. So it seems like we're just focused on so many things like Greenland, China, Russia, Ukraine, the Middle Eastern conflict, Panama Canal, Canada, and the deportation. He's got more than 174 lawsuits. He's got more than 17 injunctions right now. So there is just so much going on. There's just so much more. There is so much more, and it's hard to keep up with everything. And I think it's great I follow a lot of YouTube videos that explain all of this, right? I've worked on Wall Street for about 20 years. I have my master's from Georgetown University, but I've been, in the private sector my whole entire life, so I understand kind of what's going on. Also, we need to talk about what happened. What happened in the last 40 years that nothing was delivered to us. Like, I think about cities and trains and buses and hubs of transportation, and nothing was done. Nothing was done. Like, I believe the Baltimore Bridge that collapsed, I believe that is still collapsed. That's where we are. And the country is absolutely broke. When we think about that, that's what's going to help us decide who we vote for next. Someone that has deep governmental experience, what they call the deep state. Now, the deep state are just really people that understand the way American government functions. They understand the agencies, they understand the due process, they understand the hierarchy, they understand the powers that agencies have and individuals have, and how do we work within that world, right? You have to literally live in that world for decades to be really, knowledgeable in that area. So any industry that you work for, you have to be in it for at least 10 years to understand the market or to understand the industry. Trump has never, ever worked for anyone. He's worked for his father as a peon, probably giving him, his newspaper and his coffee. And he has never done anything else. He's never had a manager. He's never worked for anyone. He's never applied for a job. He's never filled out a job application, ever. His father gave him millions of dollars for him to start his own business. And it doesn't take a lot of brain cells to buy a real estate building. Like, that's like the first thing that, a rich son who's not very smart, the first thing that every rich parent will tell their kids, if you're not very bright, well, give them some money and let them invest in real estate, and they can collect, rental income for the rest of their life. That's exactly what his father did for him. And he's never worked in government, never, ever had a government position, never held a position as a mayor, as a governor, as a senator, as a House of Representative, never done any grassroots organizing. Doesn't know the constituents. This is a complete, crime against humanity that people voted for him. It is it is unbearable. It is unbearable that people voted for him. And we cannot just let those people that voted for him get away with this. We cannot, because there's a lot of people that's now switching over to the Democrats because they voted for him twice. And now they're, protesting on Saturday to get rid of him. But they voted for him. And why did people vote for him twice? Why? What was it that he could have done during his term, the second term, that would have made them happy? That he was just going to not do anything erratic? He's made it very clear that he wants to be on Mount Rushmore. He's made that very clear. So he wants the Nobel Peace Prize. So he's thinking about his legacy. He's thinking about, what are we going to write about him in the history books? 50 years from now, right? 100 years from now, what are we going to write? He's really trying to sort of dictate what that narrative is going to be. And we just can't let that happen. So there's absolutely just so much to talk about. I hope you stay tuned. I'll try to post as much as I can. All right. Thank you so much for listening. Enjoy. Bye-bye.